The ESPN Top 100 list is out. One battle after another for Bucks fans. We dig into the details next.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. My name is Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen of the day each and every day. And all throughout the offseason, another lengthy one that we have embraced, but it is finally coming to an end now. Camille, Monday is media day. I will be there with coverage for our show and, of course, as a part of the Bucks Radio Network, which you can hear me on once again starting the following Monday when the Bucks take on the Miami Heat. We can find Camille on the Locked On NBA show, the Technical Foul podcast as well. I mentioned the ESPN Top 100 list was released the other day, yesterday, I believe. And you may say, look, guys, we've done lists to death here, have we not? And you know what? I'll say fair. We have dissected quite a few top 100 lists here over the offseason. But we did want to touch on this one, Camille, because I think we've all resigned ourselves to knowing Nikola Jokic is going to come in number one, and I think Giannis is going to be slotted here, and we've just moved on from that toy. But upon examining this list, it felt like, okay, we have to talk about this list. So let's just rip off the Band-Aid. Nikola Jokic, no surprise, is number one on their top 100 players. A couple of interesting ones as we round it out, though, just to note here. Jalen Brunson was number 10. Kevin Durant and LeBron both in the top 10 at 9 and 8, respectively. So getting that ESPN tint on this one. But Nikola Jokic 1, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo number 3. Oh, wait, no. Giannis Antetokounmpo number 4. And here it comes.
Yeah.
Luka Doncic number 3.
My personal list, Giannis is easily top 3 and not 3. But, you know, hearing Giannis on the interview that he had recently with that Greek media outlet that we talked about a little bit earlier in the week, one thing he did talk about throughout that interview was the whole conversation around best players in the world and whatnot. And he was saying, like, you know, I think it's eye test. It's what you prefer to watch. And he said, in my opinion, I believe that myself, Luka, Jokic, SGA are like top 5 right now. And then he also brought up Tatum. He mentioned Tatum too. A lot of respect for Jason Tatum. Like, we're the best, you know, players in the world. And whatever order you might have that in, fine. But I know I'm top 5. At the very least, I know that I am top 5 here. And who's to say if we have a good run this year, I should be climbing right back up those lists. So I'm not too worried about it. And when I heard Giannis say that, I was like, I respect that notion in public. But again, like I just said, I think Giannis is top 3 and he ain't 3. If you want to put him at 2 or 1, fine. But once we get outside of that, I'm kind of like, just not in my book.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty jarring to see Giannis down to number 4. I said previously on this show, I think we've seen enough. We can read the tea leaves here to get the strong sense Luka Doncic is winning the MVP. That hinges on the Lakers being successful. But it seems like we got the groundswell of momentum. It's his turn. And now seeing Luka Doncic leapfrog Giannis on the NBA's top 100 list on ESPN's site. It is worth noting he was number 2 on the list last year. So he did pass Giannis last year as well. They just had some guy named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander outside of the top 3 at number 4. So seeing that slide there from Giannis, and you and I were talking about this before we started to record, in the eyes of others. We're not seeing it from Giannis. We're seeing it in the eyes of others for Giannis. But their write-up is still in the prime of his career, but can he win another championship in Milwaukee? Fair, but I'm going to stop you there. Nikola Jokic is still in the prime of his career. but can he win another championship in Denver? And here's the thing. I am not here to poke holes in the statistical game of Nikola Jokic. He's the best offensive player that we have seen in quite some time. But the way things have kind of laid out for the Nuggets this offseason, if that same discourse doesn't come from Nikola Jokic this summer, if they fall short, then I've got even more questions than I previously had, because we've heard it all before for Giannis of, well, the team's not good enough anymore, and you got to be competing for championships. I think it was Zach Lowe that was putting that out there. Fine, I don't disagree with that, but Nikola Jokic, and I get there's a difference in the conferences. Nikola Jokic has not made it out of the second round since the Nuggets won a championship. And yeah, Giannis hasn't made it out of the first round in the last 3 years, but there's a pretty big asterisk applied to one of those and asterisks applied to the other 2 years. But, the discourse around this Nuggets team, this is one of the better teams that Jokic has had. They had one of the best off seasons. Okay. So what happens if Denver loses in the second round again? And then it's 3 straight second round exits after winning a championship, better than first round exits. I will grant you that. But at what point do we say, is that competing for championships? And can we continue to anoint you if that's the same criteria we're applying to other guys?
And that makes me actually wonder if these rankings are slanted a bit by team performance and just kind of like projections in that sense as well, because when you're really thinking about it, like you mentioned the point that in last year's ESPN rank, they had Luka ahead of Giannis there too. So for them, that's been pretty consistent. I don't think I would put Luka over Giannis. At least when you're sitting here talking about like right now, who's the better player, one for one, not necessarily calculating an age and who would you rather have for the next 10 years and all of the things of that sort. But the Lakers are one of those teams where it's like, yes, Luka is who he is, but I don't see the Lakers having one of those years this year where they're a top 4 in the West type of team. And I wonder if that will affect the rankings last year. Like, so what if this season, to your point, the Denvers flame out in the first or second round? If the Lakers are a play-in team, whatever that might be, I do wonder how they tend to factor in the team success alongside of that. Because if Giannis and the Bucks do surprise, but Giannis's numbers have already been historic for the last 2 years. Like he has done something in NBA history the last 2 years that no one has ever done, not even once. And that's averaging at least 30 points while shooting at least 60% from the field. Like the numbers for Giannis have been fantastic. The team performance has not been. And even in his write-up for this ESPN rank, the focus is like, well, can he win another championship in Milwaukee? And I get why that's a focus because you're playing the game to win the championships. But sometimes with these rankings, I feel like team success goes into them in a way where it's hard to separate the two, but also it feels kind of like Giannis is being faulted at times for the Bucks not having the ultimate success. Although, as we said, injuries have played a point. This was the first time he's played in the playoffs, in 3 years consistently. So I don't know. There's something I just think about a lot. Like, what does team performance do for these rankings overall? Like, if you super cold, but your team just does not do it, how much of an indictment of that is it on you? Which, I mean, that's so much of like the rings culture championship conversations anyways.
There's a couple other points from that Giannis write-up and mention that I do want to get into that kind of dovetail off what you just brought up there. And there's one other notable ranking to discuss on the Bucks side. So we'll get into that conversation coming up next. Time to talk to you now about our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season's here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You'll love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more interesting and exciting, whether you're watching your team or you're just keeping an eye on your fantasy team. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting fanduel.com to get started. That's fanduel.com to place your first $5 bet. So here's the other interesting parts about their assessment of Giannis. And you mentioned the team success. After we get past the can he still win a championship in Milwaukee? He's in the prime of his career. First sentence. He's been putting up even better production over the past few years than the seasons when he won back-to-back MVP awards.
Right.
Let's stop there. And then mention too, his numbers went up in the playoffs. The Bucks have lost in 3 consecutive first rounds. And Giannis's numbers have gotten better. He was healthy for the 2025 playoffs for the first time in 3 years. His numbers increased 33 points a game, 14 rebounds, shot 64%, but the Bucks still lost in the first round for the third consecutive season. Yeah, they did, but Bucks didn't have Damian Lillard for that series. And I mean, we were also led to believe this isn't good enough with Giannis and Damian Lillard. It doesn't fit. Brooke Lopez isn't good. He's old and he's slow. And this isn't me disagreeing with that, but this is the narrative that's out there. And yet it's, yeah, he was healthy, but the team of bums that we criticized, he couldn't drag them to a first-round win against a team that represented the Eastern Conference and took the champions to 7 games.
Exactly. And that's the part of it where it's, and again, I get it. And if the big question you have about the Milwaukee Bucks is centered just around Giannis and can he win another championship because of how the playoffs have gone, I get that. But it's not Giannis. Like, Giannis's play hasn't declined in that sense where you can look at him and be like, well, part of why the Bucks haven't been winning is because of, like, that's not it. Because as you called out, they called out that his numbers consistently get better. But again, I think it's fair if you want to have what the big question is around Milwaukee, it's how can they get back to that championship contending team? I think that's completely fair. But I think when you're having a conversation just about the best players, some of that outside context needs to be taken into consideration for sure. But when we're just talking straight up one for one, who's a better player, like, you also gotta look at the players. You know what I mean? Like, there's a nuance for sure, but like, the numbers don't lie here for what Giannis has been doing, and he's been historic the last 2 years. Although the Bucks haven't been there, which again, the bigger conversation was championship aspirations. And Giannis, like, again, I'm super excited for this season. And after hearing Giannis talk about it a little bit more in that interview of like how he likes the challenges, how he looks forward to the challenge. There's a big one coming up this year. And I'm not sure if he's reading the American papers about what people have been saying about the Bucks. We know he has with some of the Greek team stuff, but listen, there's going to be a chip there for real. Like, there was one last year of people, no, I don't really get it. It's even bigger this year of the doubt cast upon the Milwaukee Bucks. And again, a lot of that, in my opinion, doesn't have anything to do with Giannis on court, but that's where people are going to start.
So, I mean, I think we've both laid out our thoughts on Giannis and his rankings on this list. Leave your thoughts as well. But for the rest of the list, we've known, well, the Bucks are going to have 2 everywhere, and it's going to be Giannis very high, and the other one pretty low on the top 100. So I started looking in those bottom 20 and scrolling and seeing like no Myles Turner in the 90s, no Myles Turner in the 70s. Did they not put Myles Turner in the top 100? And then I kept going a little lower and saw number 57. I mean, every outlet that we talked about last year on ESPN themselves had him 81. I think he was roughly like 85 in most of these lists last year, but number 57 for Myles Turner. I'm not complaining, but it seemed pretty high given everything we'd grown accustomed to. There was one interesting comparison in there. Do you know who was number 56? One spot directly in front of Myles Turner?
Who?
Isaiah Hartenstein.
Really?
Look, Hartenstein's 3 years younger than Myles Turner, and his role's a little different. But would you put Myles Turner in front of Isaiah Hartenstein?
I don't know about that one. I off the instinct, I don't think I'd I don't think I even did when we did our top 100 for the Locked On Network. I don't think that I had them that close. I would think Hartenstein a little bit before Myles Turner, but again, the role is very different that they're asked to play. Like Myles Turner has a lot more on his plate than Hartenstein does with the Thunder, but again, that team success aspect of it, and how do you disassociate it with what the actual individual performance was for Hartenstein? So that's a little shocking to me to see that they were actually that close. I'm shocked that we said
57. I mean, that's the thing is we can debate Myles Turner versus Isaiah Hartenstein, but it's also like, well, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. You put Myles Turner 57. I expected this to be in the 80s.
Yeah. And he was 80 something last year too in the ESPN rank. And I know for our network one, like you mentioned, he was 73. But do you happen to know? I don't believe ESPN actually ranked like the injured players. Like I don't think I saw Jason Tatum or Damian.
I don't believe so, because Jason Tatum wasn't in the top 10, and he has to be if he's healthy.
Okay. So with that being said, knowing that there is no Tyrese Halliburton on this list, was Myles Turner the highest ranked Piston of last year? Or not Piston, Pacer?
No, I would assume it would be Pascal Siakam.
Okay, yeah, I would think so.
Because I was like, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so here's the interesting thing too. So yes, they, due to their long-term injuries, Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, DeJounte Murray, and Fred VanVleet. So like they must have updated this in the last day or so since getting ready to release it, because this came out actually this came out yesterday. So they had to go through and let's pull Fred VanVleet because he's in the top 100. So yeah, they just took all of those players out of the mix. And we mentioned Tatum, but also Camille, we were both a little surprised that KD and LeBron are still in the top 10. I mean, that is really coasting off the name on the back of the jersey. I would assume in the career stats there, but I think Halliburton is a top 10 player if he's healthy.
I do too. And Siakam was 22 on this list. So assuming that Tyrese Halliburton, of course, is going to be the highest rated Pacer, to see Siakam at 2, which of course makes sense. He was 42 last year, 22 this year. Seeing Myles Turner rated the 3rd best Pacer from last year's squad. And now, again, that's a hole that the Pacers are going to have to try to figure out this upcoming year. But to add a player like that to the Milwaukee Bucks, again, especially when you don't have any other guys on this list at this point, again, it's a good starting base. I've talked about this front court for the Bucks and how exciting it is to like, okay, this should be really fun because Myles is going to give you a lot of things that Brook did, but a bit younger, a little bit more agile. Again, not as solid finishing around the rim as Brook was. And I will be interested to see how the rebounding shakes out for the Bucks with Myles Turner there. But to see Turner at 57 climbing from 81, the article for ESPN was talking about Giannis and how the numbers that he has made have been historic and how much more his juice is left to squeeze out of that. But I wonder similarly for Myles Turner, like, could Myles Turner be actually top 50 on the ESPN list next year?
Well, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but one comp that I find interesting is that of Jarrett Allen. And I'm fine with Jarrett Allen being in front of Myles Turner. He's been terrific the past couple of seasons. They're very different players. Jarrett Allen is certainly at this point in his career a better rim protector, but I will take the offense of Myles Turner and his ability to score from the mid-range and 3-point. That I think those two are closer than we're willing to admit in some circles. And I believe Jarrett Allen was around like 45 on this list. It does beg the question, though, of is there somebody likely to make a jump for the Bucks? So if we discuss this 1 year from now or 10 months from now and said, hey, the Bucks got 3 guys in the top 100, who's most likely to be that third? And I have an interesting wrinkle to toss at you, Camille. We'll get into that coming up next. Time to talk to you now about our friends over at Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try, and I can tell you it lives up to the hype. We've all had issues with underwear, fit, comfort, or just finding the right style that fits for you. Skims changes all of that. Their men's line offers something for everyone. You've got boxer briefs, classic briefs, and they're all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried those classic briefs and I'm hooked. They're perfect for an active lifestyle. They move with you, they never lose their shape, and they stay in place all day. Whether you're working out or running errands, they're the most comfortable and reliable underwear you will ever put on. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Again, get your pair of Skims at Skims Men's at skims.com. So we did do this before of who's the most likely player to jump into the top 100 for the Bucks next year. I'm going to ask you again, Camille. You have the option of anyone on the roster, and I have a thought there, but anyone on the roster, or is he not currently on the roster? Is that an option given the fact that the Bucks will have a decent expiring contract next year in terms of its size, have another first round pick that they can toss in there as well. So I believe they would have the ability to take back about $30 million in a trade, which I'm led to believe is a team-friendly deal.
Wow. Okay, I did not expect that wrinkle in there. Is it someone on the team or I'll say this. Not sure, of course, how the season is going to play out, but I do think John Horst is going to try to be active at the trade deadline for one reason or another. Whether things have not gone as well as they think, or because they just see an opportunity for the team to get better. So I do think the Bucks will be active at the trade deadline, but I don't know if it's going to be active enough to be like, dang, they got another top 100 player on their team right now. That might be more of an offseason thing, but that would still be on the list than if it was off season. Oh, that's a great question, Justin. Because on the team, the guys, of course, you go to, I think you mentioned Bobby Portis before when we did like the locked on look at it of like, I mean, there's an argument for him to even be on there already. Yeah, already at the tail end there. Which kind of funny, the Bucks' three best players would be front court players then if that was the case. But I think I'm actually going to go with someone on the roster. I do think that's an interesting wrinkle, and I wouldn't be surprised if that person who's not on the roster yet would fill up that top 100 spot. But I'm going to actually stick with Kevin Porter Jr. I think this is going to be one of those years for him where he can be somebody come all-star selections where there are Bucks fans like, just at least mention his name, like at least mention Kevin Porter Jr. and what he's been doing. So I'm going to go with KPJ as the guy that cracks that top 100 list for the Bucks, but I do like that idea of that it's someone who's not yet on the roster. Where are you at?
I would also lean KPJ. I do think he's going to be their second best player this season and is going to make a leap. And I think there's a very good chance if we did an ESPN or no, the Ringer does this where they do basically like quarterly updates. I do think there's a very strong chance that KPJ is going to consistently crack the top 100 as they update throughout the season. So I'll cop out and say that yeah, it's going to be Kevin Porter Jr. But there's one interesting name that I do want to throw out there at you. Tyler Herro needs a contract extension with the Miami Heat, and it doesn't appear he's getting it. I don't think their loan expiring contract, I believe it's around $33 million that Tyler Herro makes next season. So just the one expiring contract that I'm not going to name, but everybody knows what it is not enough to get it done. You could certainly toss in something else to make it work and give them first round capital. which would give the Bucks some things that we've talked about they needed. It would certainly continue to address shooting, and more importantly, it would give you some playmaking as well.
Yeah.
Now, you're already very, very heavy in the backcourt, and I'm not suggesting this happens in the season, but seeing what's going on there, I'm just going to keep my eye on that.
I mean, he's what, 6'5", 6'6", somewhere in that range. High volume shooter for sure, but he can fill it up in bunches in a few different ways, from the finishes at the rim to getting to the mid range to the three. He can play well off screens. Yeah, like that's definitely a name to keep in mind. He wouldn't be like a first option, I don't think, for me, because I do wonder a little bit about the defensive side of things for Tyler Herro. Like, we know he's a bucket offensively, and he can give you some effort defensively, but he's not necessarily known as someone who is that solid defensive type of guy too. And if the Bucks are leaning more into this two-way notion, of course, if someone comes in and they have a skill set that is just like out of this world, and he's like, we'll figure out how you make this work. But I didn't even think about Tyler Herro. That's someone I'll have to keep an eye on.
Let me ask you this. And again, it's a big leap, but if Tyler Herro were on the team right now, would he instantly be their second best player?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, he I don't even remember now if he actually made it, but he played like an all-star last season.
He did.
And then it was the late season injury that really derailed things, but he was fantastic for Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. So again, like, he would be instantly second best player, but it's like, what's the template of what the Bucks are trying to build here? Like, does he fit in that template of type of guards that you are looking to put on your team? Again, sometimes the talent is such where you're like, we're making an exception. We'll figure everything else out around a Tyler Herro Giannis team. But that's an interesting one I haven't even thought about.
Last thing I have for you here, we saw in the last day or so, 2 more teams unveil some retro jerseys. So we get the one that we both love, the Minnesota Timberwolves bringing back the black tree line from the KG era. And then, speaking of black, the 76ers bring back those that we will all remember from the 2001 NBA Finals era 76ers that I think they're bringing it back because it's the 25th anniversary of that team reaching the finals. So we see those 2 retros come back. I think I actually liked the Sixers jerseys up until 2000, and then everything that happened in the finals
ruined everything.
The conference finals tainted it for me. I love the Timberwolves ones, but it begs the question of, we've seen the purple come back. Like, is there anything left to bring back? We saw the Bucks dip even more old school when they had the return to Mecca game in, was that 2017? So what's left for the Bucks to embrace in terms of their retro jerseys? There is one that I'm curious if you bring it up.
Well, the one that people I know are going to point to is the other purple and green one with the big deer head on it. Personally,
absolutely not. Fire that thing into the sun.
Not my favorite from that era. I could see them be just doing like, hey, we did the purple Bucks uniforms retro. Now we're going to do the white one, the white primary purple. In large part too, because wasn't that the season 2 where the court was messed up? So when they were
playing the purple jerseys on the blue court.
Yeah, we need a redo. First of all, we need a redo because it visually didn't look the way we wanted it to. But I wonder if we actually just bring back the Irish rainbow from like
that
the 80s
was mine.
teams. Like, that's like it left, unless you want to go back to like the red and green rainbow. But
no,
those are the teams that
attach that to the same rocket ship with the green deer and just get it out of here. Yeah, I mean, the Irish rainbow, we've talked about it before. They implemented components of it on one of their city editions from 3 years ago, where it was still the purple and they had kind of the Irish rainbow
that wishbone collar. I hated it.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it for the retro. I loved the old school Bucks from the early era of the Bucks, that they, with the cursive script that they wore in the Return to Mecca game, and then the different silhouette of the deer that was on the thigh of the shorts. Yeah. So I'd be all for bringing that back as well, but that purple one was the big one of like, when are we going to get the purple back? And we got it. And it was a forgettable season in the team. Yeah. So let's try it again. Let's see if we can bring it even some better vibes with that one. I do know too. I've never actually seen it, but remember when Adidas had the jersey rights and we started to see the sleeved jerseys?
Yes, and we never got one.
The Bucks made one.
Oh.
And we're, I believe, planning on, they were going through the phase of designing it and we're going to wear it. And then I think that's when the contract ran out with Adidas. But it does exist. And I believe it was a light gray one. And I'm still, every time I see somebody from that team, like, can you just show me a picture? Like, I just want to see what this thing looked like.
I would want to see it too. I wonder if the Bucks would ever do a gray. Like, I know people have always thrown out the Bucks should do like a hunter inspired type of jersey,
like a camo, yeah,
something, yeah.
Only like, well, camouflage is for hunting deer,
right? Like, we are the deer. We don't want to wear what we're trying to hunt, but yeah, a gray uniform set would be, I think, could be really, really clean.
I mean, look, we may be burying the lead here and just missing the obvious. Like, it's not retro per se, but we got the cream back, and that's what people care about most. So we're about a month away, I think, from seeing all the merch come out for that one too, because it's we saw the jerseys, right? It's basically it's the exact same as they had before. So now I think it's the first week in November we'll get to see the merch start to roll out, and I would imagine those are going to be number one all-time sellers for the Bucks when those come out. All right, a couple of housekeeping things here. I think what we're going to do is Monday's show, sometime over the weekend, Camille and I will do a what do we hope to hear on Media Day and questions and preview type of show for that. That'll run Monday, and then Media Day is 11 a.m. on Monday. You can stream it as well if you are obviously not a member of the media. You can stream it at bucks.com/live. Same web address we used to use for Courtside Live, but you can stream it there and follow along on Media Day. I believe they'll probably put it up on socials as well. And then we are going to recap Media Day sometime Monday afternoon. So that will be Tuesday's show. Got one more show this week. And I believe, did we confirm anything? I believe it's going to have some crossover vibes.
We have confirmed the Friday episode will be a Locked On Bucks, Locked On Pistons crossover. So it should be fun kind of digging into the Detroit Pistons. And I know Koo is very high on the Pistons. And I'm going to guess that he views the Pistons having a better shot of finishing in the East higher than the Milwaukee Bucks.
I'm going to guess he has them as a 4 seed. And
yeah, that'll be my guess too.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll have the crossover episode coming your way tomorrow on the show. Leave your thoughts on the ranking of Giannis dropping down to number 4 and what jerseys are we overlooking? Leave those thoughts in the comments. We'll get to those in the coming shows. That'll do it for today. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you guys once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucks.